Welcome to the Forest Analytics Landing Podcast. I'm your host, Matt Russell. In this podcast, we'll talk about how data and analytics are transforming the forest products industry. We'll share how a research-based approach to analytics can empower your forestry organization to make better decisions with your data. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the podcast today. Today, I want to talk about a new book that is coming out pretty soon that I've authored, and I'm really excited to share with everyone. The book is called Statistics and Natural Resources, Applications with R. This book has really been a couple years putting together. I've kind of termed it my pandemic project because much of the last 2.5 years I've spent putting together the materials, putting together the exercises that go along with the book, getting it in the format to get to press and get to hardcover. And so I'm really happy and we're just really excited about the stage that the book's at. And it'll be coming out later this month. So I just wanted to spend a little bit of time kind of talking about the process of it, what's in the book, and then kind of what sets it apart from other books. Now, there are thousands of books in statistics, a lot of books in how to do statistics with R. And so I'll spend some time talking a little bit about some of the differences in this book compared to some others that are out there. Well, the first thing was really thinking about what the motivation was for writing the book. And I was at a spot really at the beginning of the pandemic when I was teaching a class, a graduate class in statistics for natural resources and agriculture students at the University of Minnesota. And I was really kind of worried, scrambling like a lot of faculty were, in bringing a lot of the content that they traditionally did in person into an online environment. And so in that fall of 2020 semester, pretty much most of the classes, at least in the ones that I was familiar that students were taking, were all online, either asynchronous, where the material is just posted and people can work through it, or some kind of synchronous online format where people meet on Zoom at the same time. And so I ultimately chose to do an asynchronous class in fall of 2020 and 21 as well, because I think the statistics as a topic really lends itself really well to learning at your own pace. And so as a part of that, I had compiled a lot of different things. When I taught it previously before the pandemic, it was, a traditional class, traditional in the sense that we had lecture and we had lab component to the class. And so when you don't have that lecture component, you don't have that lab component, what do you do when you want to make sure all of your materials are available to students, particularly in an asynchronous format? And so the motivation really for the book was I realized I was starting to compile more of the exercises that went along with really the lab assignments. I started to put those online into an online format. And I soon realized that as I was migrating both the exercises and the slides into a more written format, that I basically had the book there already written. By the fall of 2020, I had taught the class, I think, 5 times. And so as many people know that as they teach the class over and over, they learn what works and learn what doesn't work. And so the motivation here was basically to use those 5 years of data, 5 years of kind of tweaking and taking the materials, the exercises, and putting them in an online format. And so really, over the last 2.5 years, I've really kind of formalized really the class in a lot of ways into the book, Statistics and Natural Resources, Applications with R. And so the book, in a nutshell, really focuses on the applied aspects of doing statistics in R. And so it has theory, it has equations for how to learn and how to interpret some of the different aspects of statistics. But it really is focused on the applied nature of stats and how do you apply it. And so one of the things is that I like to use a lot of data sets. They're short data sets, small data sets that students and learners can relate to as a part of the book. And so I think that's a really important thing, particularly in the natural resources and forestry areas. Having examples from the discipline is really going to help a student learn if they're familiar with the way and the kinds of data that are being used throughout the book. And so as I mentioned, I had the materials developed, a large number of exercises that accompany the book. kind of at the end of each major section in each chapter. And so I'm a big fan. For any of you that have, and I really stole that idea really from, it's just good educational practice to have formative assessments throughout the process of reading something or going through a lecture, and not just to present material and then at the very end there might be a test, or at the very end there might be exercises. And so the way I've formatted the book is there's 15 chapters on different topics related to statistics. And the major sections, after each one of them, there's a set of exercises. And so the idea is that you can kind of work through, read a small section of a chapter, do some exercises, read the next chapter, do some exercises. And so I think that's a really great way to learn, because you can actually read and then code and then kind of do things in R simultaneously. And you're not just reading R code that you probably won't remember when you put the book down and go and just go ahead and do the statistics in your software. And so I think the materials in that way really lend itself to some good learning opportunities. A little bit behind the curtain in terms of the book and how it was written, but I basically wrote the book in R. And so many of you might be familiar with the R Markdown format. And so R Markdown is a language that really helps you to combine your text, your equations, your graphs, your figures, your data sets into a way that's visually appealing. And so I've been using R Markdown for a number of years now, and have been really impressed with what it can do. It can produce reports, and through the Bookdown package, it can produce books. And so in combination with Markdown and Bookdown, those were the two things that were basically used to produce the book. And there's a lot of benefits and a lot of great information online for how to do that. And so I was really pleased with how well that process worked in terms of writing the book, writing the exercises, and kind of seeing that through. Now, the one thing that I really love about the book is that it's online and it's in print. And so folks like to learn both ways. Folks like to look online. Folks like to also have a print copy. And so the online version, I'm happy to say, is going to be available forever online for free. And so the website URL for the book is statsfornr.com. And there you can basically read the entire book as it is in printed form. And so there probably, unfortunately, may be some minor things to correct along the way, and I'm still going to be keeping the online version of the book updated regularly. And obviously when the book is printed in the print format and the ebook format, it won't, we can't obviously go back and make those changes, but we can keep a list of those and track those and make those available on the book's printed website. And so you would be able to see kind of any errors or anything else that might come after the book is printed. I thought I'd spend a little bit of time talking kind of about what sets the book apart from others. Like I said, there are literally thousands, if not tens of thousands, of books on statistics. One of the things that really sets us apart is that, again, it focuses on natural resources data. There's so many great textbooks out there, but I've really found that once you can use data that students and learners relate to, they're going to come away with a different experience. They're going to engage with those data, engage with the analysis much more than if it's some data set that's from outside their discipline where they're not really sure what the variables even are before they start analyzing them. With the focus on natural resources data, that's great for learners that are in this space. And so that's really one thing that sets it apart. The other thing is that it uses the tidyverse. And so the tidyverse is really becoming a go-to, I call it a mega package because it's really a series or a suite of packages that go into doing good data analysis. And so the tidyverse, they can import data, reshape data, visualize data really in a very consistent manner, and do lots of other things. And so I use the tidyverse suite of packages throughout the book. And it seems that more people are gravitating toward using the tidyverse in their data analysis, and it's really well suited to big data sets, which is where a lot of natural resources and forestry data is going. And so I think the ability to learn a specific style of language, certainly it's still R, but there's some differences in terms of what tidyverse does compared to, say, what the base R functions allow you to do in R. And so I think that's a good thing to be using one consistent language in R, but also in the Tidyverse suite of packages. The other thing that sets it apart is the exercises and the solutions that are available. And so there's about 130 different exercises in applying statistics to a natural resources problem. And so really happy that a lot of those exercises have been vetted already by students. I've used them a lot here in the last several years. And so I'm happy to have those a part of the book. And also happy to have the solutions as a part of the book. And so the solutions are available on the book's website. And so you're going to be able to kind of look at the exercises, work through them at your own pace, and then check your answers through looking at the solutions. And by no means are the solutions the one way to answer the problem, but they're just one solution, perhaps of many, depending on the task, that allows you to come up with the answer. And so I think it's really valuable to have both those exercises and solutions that are a companion part of the book. And the other thing is that the book has an accompanying R package. And so I think this is really important too, because one of the biggest battles that people learning R and learning statistics have is just getting the data into the software to use it. And so one of the benefits with using the R package is that having it kind of related to the book is that you can basically just call the package and the data are right there. You don't have to worry about importing the data. You don't have to worry about silly things like the names of variables being consistent and making sure that data are of a certain type, whether they're character variables or numeric variables. All the data are preloaded in the R package called Stats for NR that can be easily brought into a learner that's going through the book. And so I think that's an important part. And as you kind of, especially as you're learning, it can basically be used to bring those data sets in really quickly, analyze the data, and then kind of take it from there. And there are ways, and we do show in the book basically how to read in data, how to export data, and to kind of bring data in and out of the R ecosystem. And so I think that's a really important piece. And so in terms of the content that's in the book, and so this is basically, it's got 15 chapters, and I really see the first 10 chapters as really the basis for most of the semester-long kind of introduction to statistics classes that are taught at the undergraduate level. And so those first 10 chapters really focus on everything basically up to analysis of variance. And so it kind of talks about different data types, visualizing data. It goes into comparisons of means, things like t-tests. The regression chapter is a really big one because regression is so commonly used in natural resources. And so those first 10 chapters are really the core of any 15-week-long semester course, which is pretty typical at our colleges and universities. Now, the last 5 chapters, chapters 11 through 15, are really focused and really emphasize kind of more advanced topics. And so if you're a graduate student, you might be interested more so in the chapters at the end of the book. And so those chapters include things like logistic regression, mixed models, count regression models, some of those more advanced topics that you probably don't have time to cover in an undergraduate course. But for folks that are at the graduate level or professionals that are in the discipline that have had a statistics class or 2 or 3 classes in the past, they might find more value out of those later chapters in the book. And so, like I said, the book is available to order now. It will ship August 19th is when it will officially ship from Press. And so I'm really excited to kind of be sharing that here with you all now. And I do have, and I'll share this in the notes as well, if you are interested in ordering, there is a 20% discount code. If you use a discount code ASM07, you'll get 20% off the book. So again, that code is ASM07 to get 20% off. And so I encourage you to use that. I encourage you to definitely continue to use the version of the book that's online. You can see kind of what's in it if you're thinking about ordering it. And you can go ahead and kind of gauge your sense of how valuable it might be to you by looking at the online version. And one of the reasons I really like the approach of the online and the printed version was that's something that the publisher really values. And so I published it through CRC Press, which for any of you that have learned statistics through textbooks, you probably have come across one of their books. They're kind of a work with Chapman and Hall and Taylor and Francis, and they're kind of a part of that publishing group. And so they really value the open access way of publishing. And so I was really grateful that they, first of all, worked with me as a part of the book, but then also supported both the online version of the book and the printed version of the book, the hardcover and the ebook copy as well. And so I think the process through them has been nothing but excellent. It's been really great working with them to get the book out. And I hope you find it valuable in terms of as you continue to learn more in your statistical learning journey, as you continue to pick up new topics, or if you just want another book on your bookshelf to kind of use as reference material in the future. I'm really happy with where the book landed in terms of its content, in terms of how it's been valuable to students that I've been working with in the past several years. And I hope it's valuable to you too. So if you do find it valuable, I'd love to hear over email if it's valuable to you. So thanks, everyone. I hope you enjoyed the book, and thanks for listening. Thanks for listening to the Forest Analytics Landing Podcast. For more information on how data and analytics can empower your organization, visit arbor-analytics.com.